The sound of a wrench clinking against cold steel echoed through the dimly lit hangar, where the scent of engine oil mixed with the sharp bite of winter air sneaking through the wide sliding doors. Nathan Cole's hands were blackened with grease, his sleeves rolled up to his elbows despite the freezing chill. His brown hair was dusted with streaks of gray at just 36, and his face carried the quiet exhaustion of a man who had seen more storms than most people lived through in a lifetime. To the world, Nathan was just the base mechanic, quiet, reliable, invisible. But to his 7-year-old daughter Emma, waiting for him at the small trailer park just beyond the hangar, he was everything. "Daddy, are you done yet?" Her little voice often called through the thin door of the shop when she grew tired of waiting in the cold. Nathan would look up from a carburetor or rotor blade, smile tiredly, and promise he was almost finished. But the truth was, he was never really finished. Helicopters didn't wait for feelings, and engines didn't care about broken hearts. 7 years ago, fate had torn Nathan's life apart in an instant. His wife, Claire, had been lost in a car accident just weeks after Emma's birth. Overnight, Nathan went from dreaming of a family-filled future to standing over a crib, terrified and alone. He had given up flying back to Ina because flying reminded him too much of freedom, and freedom reminded him of what he no longer had. Instead, he buried his pain beneath bolts, gears, and long hours, keeping the rescue choppers in perfect shape for the pilots who flew them into storms. Tonight was just another long shift. A blizzard was building outside, the kind that swallowed highways whole and turned small towns into islands of flickering lights and seas of white. Nathan wiped his hands on a rag and glanced at the old clock hanging crooked above the tool bench. Almost midnight. Emma would be asleep now, curled up under the quilt her mother had made before she was born. Nathan sighed. He wanted to be there, wanted to tell her a bedtime story, wanted to promise her that tomorrow would be easier. But bills didn't care about bedtime, and loneliness didn't care about broken fathers. Just as Nathan began tightening the last bolt on a fuel line, the emergency siren cut through the silence via a piercing wail that turned his stomach to stone. The rescue line phone rang, its shrill sound bouncing off the walls of the hangar. He froze. That wasn't his job. He wasn't the one who answered the call. He wasn't the one who strapped in and flew out. But tonight, the hangar was empty. The lead pilot had left an hour ago, grounded by the worsening storm. The second pilot was stuck 30 miles out, Snowdon with his family. The phone kept ringing. Nathan's heart pounded. He walked toward it slowly, as though the act of picking it up would rewrite his entire life. His hand shook when he pressed the receiver to his ear. "Rescue base," he said, his voice rough. A frantic woman's voice screamed back through the static. "Please, you have to help us. The roads are gone, the snow's too heavy. My husband, he's having a heart attack. We're trapped out here on Miller's Ridge. He's dying." Nathan's breath caught. Miller's Ridge was 15 miles north, reachable only by helicopter in weather like this. His eyes darted toward the row of grounded birds, their blades glinting faintly in the emergency lights. "Mama," broken bar, his voice faltered. "All our pilots area." "Please." She cut him off, sobbing. "We'll lose him if you don't come now. You're our only chance." Nathan's throat tightened. He wasn't a pilot anymore. Not since Claire. Not since the night he had promised himself he would never risk leaving Emma alone in this world. But then he pictured the woman on the other end of the line, clutching her husband's hand, praying for a miracle that wasn't coming. He pictured Emma, 7 years old, scared and small, watching him choose whether to save a life or turn away. He closed his eyes. He had trained for years before becoming a mechanic. Flying was in his blood, as much a part of him as breathing. Maybe fate hadn't finished with him yet. Nathan swallowed hard. "Stay on the line," he said. "I'm coming." His body moved before his mind could argue. He pulled on the heavy flight jacket that hadn't been worn in years, its leather stiff with time. He strapped the headset over his ears, his hands trembling as he flicked switches that came back to him like muscle memory. The helicopter roared awake, blades slicing the storm-darkened sky. Snow swirled around the hangar, blinding, and the helicopter pitched hard to the left as the blizzard roared with a fury Nathan had not felt in years. The storm slammed against the chopper like a living beast, hurling snow across the windshield so thick he could barely see the glowing instrument panel in front of him. His knuckles turned white on the cyclic stick, his heart pounding in his chest with each gust of icy wind. "Steady, steady, broken bar," he whispered to himself, his breath fogging up the inside of his visor. The rescue line crackled in his ear. The woman's voice came back, frantic and breaking, "Are you a broken bar? Are you really coming? He's not breathing right anymore. Yeah, I don't know how long he has." Nathan swallowed the knot in his throat. "I'm on my way. Hold on. Just hold on." But inside, doubt gnawed at him. The last time he had flown through a storm this bad, he wasn't alone. He had his co-pilot, his crew, his team. Now, it was just him. A mechanic turned pilot after 7 years of silence, facing the kind of storm most seasoned flyers would avoid. The snow blurred the horizon into nothing. There was no ground, no sky, only white chaos. But somewhere out there, on Miller's Ridge, a man's life hung in the balance. Somewhere out there, a family was counting on him, just like Emma counted on him every single day. The radio buzzed again. This time it was dispatch. "Nathan? Nathan, what are you doing? You're not cleared to fly. Get back down before you kill yourself." Their voices, laced with panic, tried to pull him back to the ground. But Nathan only gritted his teeth. "There's no one else. If I don't go, he dies. I won't let that happen." He thought of Claire again, her smile, her laughter. He thought of the night he had sworn to stop flying. But then he thought of Emma, and how one day she would ask him what it meant to be brave. If he turned back now, if he let fear dictate his choices, what lesson would that teach her? The helicopter jolted violently as a crosswind slammed into the side. Nathan fought the controls, his breath ragged. The gauges dipped, alarms blaring. For a heartbeat, he thought he might lose it. The storm was a monster, and he was a lone man fighting against it. But then his training kicked in. His hands moved with instinct born of years in the air. He adjusted pitch, corrected yaw, and coaxed the chopper back into line. Slowly, the shaking steadied. Slowly, the instruments leveled out. For the first time since the blades began to spin, Nathan felt something burn in his chest, something he thought he had buried forever. Confidence. "Not tonight," he muttered through clenched teeth. "You're not taking him tonight." Minutes stretched into eternities as the storm battered the aircraft. And then, through the endless white, Nathan caught a flicker of light, a faint, trembling, but there. The cabin on Miller's Ridge. He pushed the helicopter forward, teeth gritted, his body straining as though sheer will could carve a path through the blizzard. Relentless,